Hello and welcome to On the Corner. I am your host, Eric Samulski, joined by the ace himself. It's Nick Pollack.
What is happening? Yes,
He's deep in thought.
I am an AGA. Shoda Managa is the lead this week for the list. And I felt like I should honor him because he deserves more love. He's been great.
He has been great. I have a Josh Allen shirt, which Nick won't let me show because it's A, about football, and B, has a naughty word on it.
It's two F words.
It's football and another one. Friends. Football and friends.
Football and fun.
But yes, we are not here to talk football. We are not here to talk about expletives. We're here to talk about the list. As we know, the list is, again, in its matchup focus. We have 3 or 4 starts left for most starting pitchers. That is it. We are down to the wire. So we're at the stage right now where, like, again, we talked about this for weeks, but if you got 2 starts where you wouldn't use a guy, it's time to move on. If you are in head-to-head leagues, you're churning anybody that's not your must starts. I mean, you just have to advance to the next round. And even if so-and-so has a great start in 2 weeks, you've got to get there. And so that may mean cutting somebody who you can't use for in your quarterfinals and semifinals. And hopefully you get to the finals and can use them. But, you can't clog the roster with guys that you can't be using in the meantime. If you are watching this live, I see some people getting some questions in. Throw some questions in there if they're about specific pitchers. When we get to those teams, maybe we'll, spend an extra minute or two talking about those particular starters. But we're going to get to every team, every starter. There's not that much, baseball left, so we're going to make sure we give you as much info as possible.
Yeah. No, this is going to be a pretty quick one. We're going through the teams. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll actually see the teams right in front of you on the page. So you can see the schedules, and we're going to talk about those specifically.
We're going to start right in on this with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They get at the Giants this week, then at Minnesota, then home against the Giants before getting the Phillies and the Dodgers. And then the Padres. So it's kind of just like the next 2 weeks for the Diamondback starters, and then maybe you move on. But yeah,
it's pretty straightforward. I would say you might be tempted by Nabil Crismet, and I wouldn't go for that personally. I think it's a little bit of a trap. He's got an interesting changeup, but everything else is kind of meh, and I wouldn't do it. Zach Gallen is looking like Zach Gallen right now. The tiara is off. Turn around right away. So he gets the Giants twice. You're going to do that. Eduardo Rodriguez might be good for those two. Brandon Fox.
The Giants are also pretty bad against lefties. So Eduardo Rodriguez
and Brandon Fox just had a really good game, but it was a lot of kitchen sink, and the sweeper was throwing least of all his pitches. And I'm just not buying it for one game.
It was also against the Red Sox offense with no Roman Anthony and Wilyer Abreu that was just has been really struggling to score any runs right now.
And it might be really tough to hear this, but we have one more start left with Ryan Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. We can't start him against the Phillies and the Dodgers, but we should like it against Minnesota.
I will say, and we'll see what happens, but the Phillies just put Trey Turner and Alec Boehm on the IL.
That is true. That is really true.
Ago.
And if you're watching this live, as you should, you get this podcast a day early, and we're going to tell you, oh my gosh, Nolan McLean, you were thinking maybe I start him or maybe I don't. Well, that Phillies offense a lot worse now. You should definitely be rolling with them tonight.
You should. Should you be rolling with these Athletics pitchers? Because matchups against Boston, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh in 3 of the next 4 series, seemingly good. However, the next 2 matchups against Boston and Cincinnati, both in Sacramento, that tends to be pretty tough. We don't love that environment. Luis Morales, I feel like at this point, you can't really take him out, though.
Yeah, he's just doing so well, and it's kind of weird. I think that his command isn't this good, and there's this idea that he doesn't have the shag rug at all, that he's just going to coast. But as you mentioned, the Red Sox are not looking very good at the moment. Then you have the Reds carpet, and then you have at PNC Park, which is great for Morales. So it certainly helps with that floor and the higher chance of him getting through it. But it is interesting to see that he has rostership at 41% between Yahoo and ESPN leagues, which is wild. I don't think I have seen an Athletics pitcher who's debuted in August and didn't have like the greatest beginning to his career, have such high rostership by the start of September. Have you seen that before, Eric?
Are you like thinking of somebody specifically?
No, I'm just like, this is wild.
I mean, he's been so good though. And so I get it. I mean, I honestly think 41% is relatively low. And especially if you think about like his poor start wasn't even a start. It was 2 innings out of the bullpen. Then they moved him into the rotation and he's been great since the rotation. I don't know. I think people were like hungry for an A's starter, weren't they? I mean, it was like Jack Perkins, it was Jacob Lopez.
That is fair. That is incredibly
now
fair.
They're just transferring rostership from one to the other to the other.
Yeah. Yeah. What he's done is 5 innings, 6 innings, 7 innings, 5.2, and his last 4 games, which are the real starts. And he's led 4 runs total in that, 5, 6, 7, 8 strikeouts in order. It's possible he's just found his command and everything's cool. I mean, look, he throws hard and he has a good breaking ball. It's just, I don't think that this is actually his true talent, but like for example, Emmett Sheehan is 17% rostered right now and he gets Rocky Road tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, they keep saying that Sheehan isn't in the rotation and then he is, and then he isn't, and then he is. I think
that's very fair.
People are just like, yeah. And I think there's a lot of stagnant teams on here, but
fair enough. But otherwise, I mean, there isn't really much that I'm that interested in, say for Severino and JT. Again, I wouldn't go for Mason Barnett, who just had a lot of whiffs, but like, it's not believable to me. And Jeffrey Springs, yes, he does get that Red Sox team you were describing, but
the Red Sox also, Abreu doesn't play versus lefties. The Red Sox versus lefties are still a good offense, and it's going to be the Red Sox twice, including one in Boston
and one in Sacramento, which is still not good either. Yeah.
We got the Braves next. It's wild looking at the Braves rotation. And I mean, I guess with Sale back, you at least have like Sale and Strider, but then it's like I'm looking at Bryce Elder and Dane Dunning, and sadly, I think the Joey Wentz experience has come to a close for us for this season. Hurston Waldrop, continues to look good. And I don't know about this Houston start, but then Washington twice to end the season is pretty enticing.
Yeah, this is very interesting because you do have Wentz against the Nationals later. You have Waldrop twice against the Nationals. Obviously, Chris Sale you're going to go with. Bryce Elder, who has been absurdly good lately. And even against the Cubs, he went 7 innings. I believe it was shutout. And I'm not going after this again with the Cubs. I feel like this is just one of those weird things that happens every so often. The only ones I'm really circling are that final Wentz start. And I personally am not in on Waldrop because it is so focused on the splitter. 2 of his last 3 have showcased the splitter being very erratic. And I just hate relying on that. It just feels so much like a coin flip that I don't want to go for Hurston Waldrop.
And the rest of these guys, like I'm not touching Dane Dunning, Bryce Elder. I think that's, you're moving on. I'm not going after that.
Yeah.
I think somebody needed to dial it back for you with the Baltimore Orioles. You can't list every starter in the Baltimore Orioles organization, Nick.
I mean, okay, so I can because they might start and I need to prepare you guys. And also it's a 6-man with Enns and Kramer, swapping halvesies here. With Enns getting Toronto later this week, which you don't want, and then Dean Kramer, Yankees, which you don't want, and then maybe it's good enough for the Rays, but probably not. But here's the thing, Eric. Tyler Wells and Kate Povich. Oh my gosh, you should be targeting those 2 guys.
Tyler Wells, we've been talking about Tyler Wells for a few weeks now. It's like hey, he might be coming back, but we were both kind of like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, and I didn't care.
Who knows, man?
But here's the thing: it's the Pirates, and then at Chicago White Sox, and then hosting Tampa Bay, not in Tampa Bay, right? And Tyler Wells looked like on point in his last start, over 80 pitches, and Kate Povich gets the same exact set of starts. He's a Toby. He's got good 4-seamer command right now. Good curveball command is much better with his changeup. I love this. I feel like you should be starting both of them for all 3 of them. They are Tobies with a good win chance and even a quality start chance in all 3. So they're the ones I'm really going for. And was really tough, Eric. I don't know if you would do this. I have auto start and I have solid. And solid's kind of like your Holly tier, right? At 20 to 30 or so. But it's really because Trevor Rogers was auto start. And I'm like, I can't keep that there if he goes at Toronto and then the Yankees twice. But then again, you're not going to bench Trevor Rogers, right?
I don't know, man. Like in a roto league, I'm probably not, but in a head-to-head league,
he's been so good.
I know he has. He really has. I don't know.
I know these matchups are terrifying.
At all, but I get it. I get it. You have to. I think you have to wear it if he pitches poorly. Like he is worth being in your lineup, and so I think even though the chance is there for him to get hit hard, I think you probably just have to like say a prayer for like maybe 2 or 3 runs in 6 innings and call it a day and be like, we got out unscathed or whatever,
Right. And then there's also Kyle Bradish. I mean, it's Pittsburgh and then Chicago White Sox. These feel like
you got to do it.
Easy auto starts. The problem is that he gets the Yankees twice at the end.
Yeah.
And it might not get it twice, but then again, you think to yourself, okay, hold on a second. It might actually be helpful for Bradish to get that extra start, right? Because a lot of these last weekend starts, especially even on just the full last week, you might not see starters actually get, especially if they've been starting the entire year or there's any sort of injury whispers. A lot of times it's like, you know what? We're not going to push this. We just want to add an extra week for you to be healthy next year. And Kyle Bradish, though, coming back from Tommy John and needing the volume, he could very well be starting on the 28th against the Yankees.
I will say I picked up Cade Povich in a few roto leagues on Sunday because of that schedule. I'm not like, I don't love Cade Povich, but at the same time, it's worth chasing that arm.
Well, he's a cool dude, so that should give you bonus points too, right?
Love it. Love rooting for cool dudes. I'm surprised you could have, if you wanted to, have just as many arms in the Red Sox list, because we know that Garrett Crochet is starting Monday. We know that Dustin May has now been moved back into the rotation on Tuesday. We know that Peyton Toll is no longer starting on Wednesday. He will not be.
Well, it could be it looks like it's an opener.
Or as of this morning, Chris Cotillo, who covers the Red Sox for Mass Live, said there are 2 other options for the Red Sox. One opener could be Kyle Harrison, who pitched an inning on Sunday at AAA. He had been out with an ankle injury, so that's why he didn't get a start last week. But they could kind of do this super interesting Harrison Toll piggyback situation on Wednesday, which I would love to watch, but would be very I don't know how I feel about it in terms of like how they're going to produce. And then there's also talks that the Red Sox could call up another left-handed pitcher, Connolly Early, who's a starting pitching prospect for them, who was scratched from his start in the, precaution that he be called up. This is a guy who is another pitcher who's gained a lot of velocity, left-hander for the Red Sox this year. He's only made 6 starts at AAA. He spent most of the year in AA, but in AAA, he has a 2.38 ERA, 1.05 WHIP, 36 strikeouts to 11 walks in 28 2/3 innings. Left-hander with a fastball that's kind of like in the mid-90s, and his best pitch is a plus changeup.
We know I like both
righties. Throws to both righties and lefties. He's got a sweeper that he uses for swinging strikes to lefties as well. And he was kind of like maybe he's a back end of the rotation guy, but now like his velocity has gone from like 92 to 96, and people are like, hey, maybe he's a mid rotation guy. I still don't know that you're starting him against the Athletics, but I'd be curious to watch it.
Yeah. It's really annoying about Peyton Tolley because I think that his fastball is absurd. The extension he gets on that, the high velocity is not normally seen from the left side. It's flat. It has decent up vert. Like watching him throw this pitch against the Diamondbacks, even though he was throwing it thigh high essentially the entire time, or belt high, was still so tough for the Diamondbacks. They just sold out for it because the secondaries weren't getting enough strikes. And that's really what happened in his last outing. And I very much feel that he should be far better than that moving forward. And I really do hope that he sticks around this, because I'm looking at this rotation for the Red Sox. Like, he is their number 4 for the playoffs.
Yeah. Most
It's
likely.
it's just like, you need to give him the opportunities for it. I can understand if the Red Sox are maybe doing the piggyback thing, because, hey, look, we want to not overuse you now if we are going to be in the playoffs, but you got to win every game you can right now. I don't know.
They are comfortably in the playoffs. A playoff rotation that is a piggyback of Dustin May and Peyton Toll is a really weird look as a hitter to go from one to the other. Like, that's a pretty strange, like 2 times through the order for each guy is a confusing mix.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if you'll see something like that too. At the very least, Lucas Giolito and Brian Bayo, I personally am just not touching the rest of the way. But I can understand how they are potential for 6 innings, potential for a win in there. Thing is, as the Yankees hosting the Athletics and at Toronto for Giolito, and Brian Bayo gets the Yankees and then heading to Tampa Bay, which is not a fun place to pitch, and then at Toronto. I don't really like any of those matchups for those guys. What do you think?
I get it. No, I get it. I get it. I mean, I would trust Bayo in Tampa Bay because I just don't really like that Rays lineup, but it's tough. And listen, I mean, I know you are well aware of the Red Sox dominance over the Yankees so far this year, so maybe it continues, but yeah, it wouldn't give me the warm and fuzzies to start those guys in that matchup.
Absolutely.
A lot of warm and fuzzies when you're starting these Chicago Cubs pitchers, because there's a lot of green on their schedule coming up. Obviously, the Braves series is not one we love, even though Ronald Acuna is in an 0 for 25 slump right now, which is absolutely wild. But, you know, some of these guys, like, I mean, if you're avoiding Atlanta with Cade Horton, you love Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, St. Louis. Same with Jameson Taillon, who's coming off the IL. And it's like, maybe you start him against the Braves just to get those final 3 starts as well. Colin Ray, I got no problem. Tampa Bay at home, and then the Reds, and then you move on. But you can start a lot of these guys.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do it. Colin Ray will get the Mets at the end of the month, and you just avoid him for that. But all these matchups are pretty much, hey, okay, you go with them, and good luck, everyone.
Good luck. Good luck starting your White Sox. However, I think we might want to start Yoendrys Gomez, who's somebody you were into before I was into him. I mean, in terms of, like, you were impressed by his first start, and I had to, like, go back and really kind of watch it. And I know you love that fastball. But Tampa Bay at home, Cleveland at Cleveland, you probably want to avoid the Padres start, but then Washington, I mean, that's a really nice setup.
Yeah, it's interesting because Gomez isn't a finished product yet, and also his fastball velocity fell down in his last outing. And the command of everything is still a work in progress a bit, but it is a pair of good breaking balls. There is a flatness to that fastball too. It's just that it's not the best win chance, and the shag rug is low. We're not really seeing like absolute dominance that we should bank on for Gomez in these 2 starts. So I've actually seen a lot of people saying, okay, cool. Do you want Luis Morales 2-step? Do you want Yoendrys Gomez? I'm like, I would really feel weird trusting Gomez at this point. But I understand it is a 2-step, and generally I'm looking at the other ones. Even though I like the single start of Shane Smith against Tampa Bay, I would prefer the 2-step of Gomez, right? Against the Rays and at Cleveland. So I get that. I don't want to start him against the Padres after him. If he gets that last weekend against the Nationals, I think it'd be okay with that one for Yoendrys Gomez. Shane Smith gets the Rays and Orioles, and then at New York, and then at Washington. I don't know if he'll get that last one against Washington. He's been pitching the entire year, though, and they've been very careful about his pitch counts. So it's probably just 2 more for Shane Smith that really you want to go for, but those seem fine. Martin Perez just got trounced by the Tigers, and I thought maybe that was going to be a good one. He didn't pitch actually as poorly as the line suggested, and the Guardians are usually a left-handed lineup. They will switch over to a lot of guys to right-handed for lefties, but they are not as good as they are as their left-handed counterpart, which makes me excited about at Cleveland for Martin Perez. And Davis Martin should be okay against that too. He's a Toby. But those are the ones I'd really Chase, I don't think I'm that interested in Sean Burke because even though he has his moments, like here's the 95 upstairs, it's really nice. Here's the curveball, it's really good against lefties. Here's a slider that does enough. Here's a changeup, it's okay. It rarely is all there. Yeah. So good luck trying to figure out the one here that would be exciting. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, and Matthew had asked in the chat about starting Martin Perez, and I think he's a fine streamer for this week, and I'd probably wind up holding him for Baltimore, but we'll see how he throws here. There is a left-handed pitcher that you might be releasing and moving on from, but we will get to him after this break. I know that it was hard to think about cutting Nick Lodolo, but at San Diego, at the Athletics versus the Cubs, are you holding Nick Lodolo right now?
Yep.
All right.
He pitched really well against the Dodgers. Just didn't go well right his way. And like, I feel as if he's a really good pitcher, and really good pitchers find a way to beat matchups. So I'm going to likely do it, but I have him as a Toby/bomb because I recognize, it can go south. And I really see how this one goes at the Padres. If this is fine, all right, let's just stick it out in Sacramento and see how that goes. And really the one that you're afraid of is the Cubs, and we've seen him do well there. So I'm going to go for it.
Okay. Love to hear it. The rest of these
Andrew Abbott, though. Andrew Abbott is the other lefty. I was wondering who you were going to say, Nick Lodolo or Abbott.
Well, Abbott, I wasn't considering cutting Abbott because Abbott gets that Cardinals start that Lodolo doesn't get.
Right. That's kind of weird, right? You're going to just try one more against the Padres, but regardless of that, you're still going to do the Cardinals. You got to do that in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think you have to. Yes.
Yeah. He's not been as good the last two, but I feel like you still have to do it with Abbott. You just gotta.
Yeah, Brady Singer. I like the Cardinal start. I like the Pirates start. I don't love the Athletic start, but in deeper formats, sure.
Yeah, exactly. I don't feel like you need to hold on through the Athletic start to get those two for Singer. And Hunter Green's amazing. And Zach Littell stopped this. I can't believe that he's just such a regular starter still. It just blows my mind.
Stop it. Is the best starting pitching option for the Guardians for the remainder of the season Parker Messick?
Because I thought you might even say John Means as a fun one.
He gets the White Sox, he gets the Twins, and then he gets a Rangers lineup that's probably going to be without Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, and Adolis Garcia. So I'm not really sure who's healthy enough to play for the Rangers anymore. I don't know, man. Like that's a pretty good schedule. Again, we talked about the Twins. The Twins against lefties are not nearly as good because they have so many left-handed hitters that they platoon and get out of the lineup. And so I really like these next two starts, and I think I'm going to like the Rangers start for Messick as well.
Well, what's interesting is that his first two outings, Parker Messick's command was great. Four-seam was up, changeups down, everything was cool. The last two have not. The changeup has been a lot more floaty over the middle of the plate. The four-seamer has been kind of very inconsistent of center of the zone, out of the zone, too high up, that kind of thing. And we've gotten pretty much the 50-50 here. Like, which one are you, Parker Messick? I can't quite tell at the moment. It is the White Sox, and you're like, fine, I'm gonna do that. I'll see where we are from there. And if that is still kind of, I'm probably moving on for the Twins and Rangers after, and maybe that becomes something I jump into if I have a desperate situation. But right now, considering that's on the 13th, that's on Saturday. If I look at my week and I can see a scenario where I add a guy to go on Thursday and they could pick up Messick again to get him back for Saturday, I would take that chance instead of just holding Messick and targeting that one stream on Saturday against the White Sox.
Yeah. And you mentioned John Means. I personally am not touching John Means in fantasy. Maybe he comes back and is at like 65 some odd pitches in a couple of starts, but like this isn't Kyle Bradish for me, right? This isn't Ryan Weathers, where I haven't really seen that type of upside that makes me go, if he's back, I'm taking him even at 60 pitches. Like, I think your hope is for John Means. Also, we're always hoping for health, but your hope is he gets a couple good healthy starts at the end of the season and heads into 2026 healthy and in somebody's rotation.
Yeah, I mean, the good news here is that we can monitor the rehab starts, and we can see before that September 20th outing, is he locating his pitches decently well? B, is the changeup there? C, is he at 91, 92? And D, is he above 70 pitches? Right? Is he at 75, 80 or so before that one? Like, for example, Tyler Wells showed up with 87, right? So did Pablo Lopez. And especially with Pablo, we knew that he was above 80 before that return, right? This is stuff that we have now that we didn't have when Still Ill was created as a term. So John Means could be valuable in that start against the Twins, and it might be something we don't really know, so we don't risk it. But then it could be valuable against the Rangers, as you've mentioned. What's really good about Means is that he was this lefty southpaw brand before it became a thing this year.
Yes.
That is how he's had all of his success. So if there's one guy that you really want to showcase that and take advantage of it, it would be him. He, John Means business and all. So I would consider it. Just keep tabs of Means.
Yes, keep tabs. I'm fine keeping tabs. I'm not rushing out.
I mean,
I want to actually ask you about
also, I will say, sorry, I got to hit this. Joey Cantillo, kind of in the same vein. I think I'm not in for the Royals quite yet, but I might be for the Tigers. Then again, the Tigers just destroyed Martin Perez. They might be kind of good against lefties. It's a little iffy there. Gavin Williams is still a hipster, and do whatever you want with that. He's kind of been good, but I can't quite trust it. But Tanner Bybee finally had to start with cutters and changeups, located well and doing well. And I'm like, I can't buy this, but watch him do it again versus the White Sox. And now I'm like, okay, now it's at Minnesota and then the Tigers. Like he might put us in that kind of bind. So at least be aware of it.
I'm a Cantillo fan. I hope, fingers crossed. I could see starting him against the Royals, but it's a risk for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of risks, we gloss over the Rockies every single week, but I just want to ask you, Kyle Freeland.
I know that's such a start. It was. Crazy.
It's at home though, but it's against the Marlins and against the Angels after the Dodgers this week, which we're not doing. But would you consider Kyle Freeland in those two home starts against the Marlins and Angels?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had to ask.
You just can't do it.
Had to do it. Had to
guys.
Would you consider Charlie Morton now in the start against Miami? Because Morton has been struggling. The last start was not particularly good against the White Sox. I know you love the curve, but and so you're still going to trust?
Well, right. This is the tough problem because I had circled his last start against the White Sox and this one against the Marlins because the curve has been good. What happened against the White Sox was that Charlie Morton just couldn't throw strikes with everything else. And okay, you can do this. It's the Marlins. I'm in for that start against the Marlins.
Okay.
Right. Obviously, going Tarek Skubal, Sorry Gibson Long is here, and you're not starting against the Yankees. And I wish he was still getting the Marlins. He's not. So we got the Guardians twice in a row, and that likely will be the time to jump in. He'll be stretched out enough by then.
I will be
in for those. Sorry, Gibson Long. Yes. Yeah. Jack Flaherty, you don't start him against the Yankees. I guess you start him against the Guardians and then you take it from there. Do what you need to do. Casey Mize, honestly, I guess you start him against the Marlins, but that's it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm not interested.
The Houston situation is really interesting to me because there's a ton of red. It feels kind of cut and dry here with Houston where the matchups are all terrible. Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez are aces. So you're going to start them because they're too good to bench. Luis Garcia, Jason Alexander, Christian Javier are all pretty fringy right now. I feel like you just avoid, except for maybe the Texas Rangers series next week, depending on the health of the Rangers bats.
Yeah, Luis Garcia is actually someone else I got a lot of questions about because it's a two-step this week, but it's at Toronto and at Atlanta.
Yeah, I can't.
Don't forget, Luis Garcia last week in his still ill return from Tommy John. Well, remember, he was in 2022, his last healthy season, 94 mile per hour fastballs. What we saw in this return was 91 and change.
Yeah.
Right. This was not old Luis Garcia ready to go. And especially against these two tough teams, why are we doing this? I would absolutely not do it. Jason Alexander has proven himself as a guy who can locate those changeups and sinkers down effectively. And against a team like the Rangers, that might actually work out really well. And Christian Javier, honestly, the opponent matters less with him than with others Because if he's executing his game plan, actually locating those four seamers upstairs, getting strikes with both breaking balls and his changeup, that can actually work out. It's just that doesn't happen every time. So it's hard to tell when it is, and might as well skip over the tough ones. Maybe take that chance against the Rangers, maybe even against the Angels, because Javier should pitch that last one. I would think he'd get it because he's missed so much time that they want to gear him up as their potential number 3 entering the postseason.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I think Framber Valdez intentionally crossed up his catcher.
Oh, we know this. That's not a think. That is a yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. And it's horrible.
Making sure we're on the same page with that one. It's a sad week, Nick, because I think this is the week that I have to say goodbye to Ryan Bergert.
I
he's
know.
going to start today against
What a guy, huh?
Guardians.
What a guy. Well, wait, hold on, Eric. Wait.
I know the Phillies.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
I mean, as you wrote in the list, you said, I hope he does enough basically after this Guardians game that we want to keep rolling with him. I hope so too. The Phillies are still going to have Schwarber and, Castellanos, and they're still going to have bats. I know they don't have Bohm and Turner. So maybe, but thank you, Ryan Bergert, for all you've done. I'm also happy to stream Stephen Pollack this week against the Guardians. I think that in a deeper format, I will take that stream.
He's okay. I don't think there's anything exceptional at all with Pollack, except that he throws strikes, and it doesn't. To me, it's too low of a ceiling. Generally, he just had his best.
That's fair, but I'm starting him in a 15-team league, and that I'm okay with that. I think there's a win chance. There's chance for a pretty baseline start.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking of how many other starts are there that I like more than that?
Sure, but
and for example, okay, let's just take one starter. You want just Gomez or Stephen Pollack? Who are you taking?
One start of Gomez?
One start of Gomez.
I might take Pollack for the win chance.
Oh, I would take Gomez.
Okay.
Yeah, but I really think that Pollack does everything is just kind of average to below average with what he throws. And the only thing that he has going for him is he generally throws strikes. Right. So that means that you can have Koufax gracing you on a given day and survive 6 innings or so. Right.
Hey, but the teams like the Royals and Brewers have made tons of hay out of guys who just throw strikes.
Oh boy.
So,
yeah.
I get it.
I get it. He just did well against the Twins.
Listen, I don't think he's available in a lot of leagues, even though he's been out for forever. But would you IR stash or IL stash Cole Reagan?
Oh my gosh, Eric.
I know.
It is not the other sport.
Well, to be fair, it used to be the IR in baseball also.
No, it wasn't. It was something else.
Oh, it was the DL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be very fair.
To be very fair. But are you stashing Cole Reagans? I mean, he's probably going to come back, and if he does, he gets Toronto and the Athletics.
Yeah, it's really hard to. It's one of those cases, again, that we'll see the rehab starts. But then again, he might not even get those. I actually should have mentioned this before with John Means because of minor leagues being weird. And you might be in a situation where, you don't know what they're doing on the backfields and stuff. So, no. You can't start him for the first one. We have no idea what that is. And in all likelihood, they aren't going to push him too much in these. It's essentially, if he does return, it's to say hey, cool, you threw 60 pitches. Nice.
Right.
Agree.
That's where I'm at too.
Yeah.
This Angels situation is confusing. I never know if Jose Soriano is going to have a good game, so I guess I'm starting him against the Twins. Yusei Kikuchi, he's at Seattle. We like guys in T-Mobile. I don't really know if he's going to have a good start, but I could see using him. I can't use Kyle Hendricks. Doesn't matter who he's pitching against. I don't really think that I can use Caden Dana, and so I think it's just Jose Soriano, Yusei Kikuchi, cross your fingers and hope. I know you talked about Mitch Ferris last week. I just can't. I can't.
No, I don't think I can either, Eric. I really don't.
I'm glad we've come around on that.
And it's oh man, it's pretty bad. I don't really want to start any of these guys. Yeah.
I think Soriano. Soriano against the Twins, I'll do, and then I go from there. But I don't really love this situation.
No, it's pretty bad.
A lot of the situation in the Dodgers is cut and dry. When Tyler Glasnow's healthy, you're starting him. When Blake Snell's healthy, you're starting him. Shohei Ohtani's healthy, you're starting him. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's healthy, you're starting him. Emmett Sheehan gets the Rockies tomorrow, at home. So you're going to use him then, and then who knows what they do after that. But I feel like the Dodgers are kind of easy because all the other guys are like aces, and then Sheehan, who has a great match.
Yeah, just Sheehan. I mean, also in Kershaw, like he just pitched his best game of the year with sliders and curveballs down. So then fine, you're going to start him against these. Maybe not at Seattle, we'll see. But sure. Emmett Sheehan, just please give me that Rocky Road start.
Right.
It is the first time I think all year that we have a auto start streamer. Again, as I mentioned, 17% rostered. So he just went 10 Ks against the Reds carpet. Like, how could it not be good against Rocky Road? And yeah, we're going to roll with that one. But otherwise, I mean, Shohei Ohtani went under 4 frames in his last start. You understand that some people are like, I don't really know if I want to commit to that one over something else. And I totally get that, guys. Like, if you have another awesome, good outing, like I would maybe consider Ryan Bergert at Cleveland over this upcoming one with Ohtani, just because we don't quite know how long Ohtani would go. Just kind of put on a level there. I mean, I kind of still want to go Ohtani, but you understand where we're at. And Eric, let's just talk for a second. Me and you here, buddy. Okay. How torn were you when you watched that Jackson Holiday home run for Yoshinobu Yamamoto?
Why would I have been torn?
Because that's just the most painful thing ever. He's 1 out away from a no-hitter.
Right. That's why I wasn't torn. I thought it was
my heart was torn.
Oh yes.
My emotions.
And then they lost the game. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And
never happened ever in baseball history.
I will say somebody posted something on Twitter that I understand, where they were like, I forget who was in right field, like very clearly tried to play the ball off the wall. The ball went over. It was a home run, whatever. But he was just like, if I have a no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th inning, I want you trying to King Kong scale that wall. Like, don't try to play it off the wall. Like, try to jump the highest you've ever jumped. And I'm like, I kind of get it. Like, no, that ball was not going to be catchable. But also, like, we're up 3. I got a no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th. Like, get up there. Try and Denzel Clark that.
Wait. I just want to make sure my memory is serving me right. This is Camden with like a massive, 30-foot wall?
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was where it was out. I don't think it was hit to that part.
Okay. Fair enough then. Yeah, it's that's kind of where my head goes. Like, you're asking him.
Yeah. No, it was not. I'll pull it up, but it was not.
Right, you should be. You absolutely should be scaling that wall. It's just like a normal fence. Okay.
Still not catchable.
Yeah, but still, you got to be like doing that thing. You got to showcase that for your pitcher, 100%. But yeah, so I just feel for the Inquisitor.
It was just to the right of that wall, or to the left if you're looking at home plate.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I feel bad for the Inquisitor, otherwise known as YY. And it's just it's just gut wrenching. I think about Mike Mussina against Carl Everett, right? It's one of those things of just like, oh, so close. Obviously, that one was a perfect game for Mussina, but still, it's I hope he gets another one. I hope he gets like another chance, because that can just haunt you forever. That kind of stuff. That's all.
Thanks for bringing that sour note. It's gonna haunt
him. Just these are humans, guys.
It's true.
These are humans. It affects them.
They feel that. He feels that for sure.
Yeah.
We got some good news though with the Marlins, because we have guys coming off the IL. Are you interested in either Jansen Junk or Ryan Weathers?
Actually, you might be surprised by this, but I'll tell you after this break. So the answer is neither, except I'm probably in on Weathers after the first one, because his last rehab start was 68 pitches. And Ryan Weathers versus Jansen Junk. Jansen Junk, the shoulder, the whole thing is never really that believable to me for being the junk baller. I don't think he's going to be ready to go for this first one against the Nationals, and I don't want to do it against Detroit. And then maybe at Texas as like a desperate stream. That's why I have him labeled in orange here as a desperate streamer. But yeah, with Weathers, I could still see myself do it against the Nationals. I feel like he should be good, but that's really 70 to 75 pitches you should expect. And then honestly, I think it'd be okay in Coors. And then definitely at Texas. So I'm not really in on the first one, but after that, once he's over 80 pitches, then I think I'm pretty much in on Ryan Weathers.
Can you use Yusei Kikuchi in these good matchups considering, or Yusei Kikuchi? Can you use Yuri Perez in these good matchups considering?
Okay, those guys are not even close to being similar. Okay, Eric?
No, they're not. But it's a
don't you dare.
It's a U sound at the
Yuri. I think there's a lot of people freaking out about the last two starts of Yuri Perez who should not be. Okay? Guys, terrible inning against the Mets. Got singled out a bit and had a little bit struggles with his secondaries to lefties against the Nationals. Should not be a thing in this repeat matchup for the Nationals. His four-seamer velocity is absolutely fine. It's still great stuff. I think that you should feel great about this for Yuri Perez. You might even be in a case where you want to start him against the Mets on the 26th. I'm absolutely starting him against the Nationals.
Okay. I get it. Maybe I'll do that in my home league where I'm no longer in contention.
And then you can yell at me after. And then Sandy Alcantara against the Nationals, we're going to do. However, you might not want to do much more than that. The last outing from him was not nearly as pristine as the other ones with changeups and fastballs. And he's just too hittable. I don't know how else to put it. So the changeup really needs to be this big whiff pitch and this big nullifier. And when it's not, he really gets exposed. So hopefully he has it against the Nationals, especially against the left-handers there. In Colorado, I guess it should be okay, fine. Maybe the Phillies are still hurt for the 23rd. It's just, it feels like this isn't going to be a smooth glide to the end of the season.
Yeah. It might be a smooth glide to the end of the season for the Milwaukee Brewers, though. Because if you look at that schedule, it is green. Just so much green. Now, Freddie Peralta, you're probably never taking him out anyway. Brandon Woodruff, you probably weren't taking him out anyway. Jacob Mizorowski threw over 100 pitches his last outing.
Amazing. He probably will be babied in his next one. I think it's an every other start thing for Mizorowski.
But I don't think against the Cardinals you can bench him.
I agree with you, but just keep that in mind. Like, it'll be 5 innings, I think.
And Quinn Priester has been pitching great and gets the Cardinals and the Angels. And then I tried to add Jose Quintana in many, many, many places where if he was available this weekend, because he gets the Rangers, the Angels, the Cardinals, and the Reds in Milwaukee to end the season. And that's a tremendous runway for Quintana.
100%. And then there's Eric Fede. And why are you here? Why? No, don't trust the Feds, guys.
Don't trust the Feds.
Nope.
Can you trust Zebby Matthews?
I want to,
Angels?
But I can't. But I want to. I mean, it's a case where we just don't have enough of a track record of him locating well. Yeah, and he's a guy who can throw strikes, but it's not necessarily good strikes, and it's really annoying. Like, his four-seamer doesn't blow by guys enough for him to do this. So I want to believe that at the Angels, Zebby Matthews can utilize his cutter and his slider well enough against those right-handers and be successful. And then I definitely like at Texas, but then again, it's the Yankees in between. So if I'm in a situation right now where I'm debating between two guys and one of them has 2 good starts and one of them is Zebby Matthews, I'm probably just going to get the other guy because I'm not 100% certain about that Angels start.
Sure. I get that. Zebby Matthews' last start used a more complete pitch mix. He'd always been like mixing in pitches, but it was a more complete kind of spread of his pitches, we should say. And so I'm intrigued by that. I liked that. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, Pablo Lopez, you're going to use him. Joe Ryan, you're going to use him. I think Joe Ryan wishes he was traded at the deadline. That's certainly the vibe I get from his starts in the second half of the season. But Arizona, Cleveland, you're going to use him. Are you using Bailey Ober, Arizona and Cleveland?
Nope. Even the last outing that was good over the weekend against the Royals, 89.4 mile per hour fastballs.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even locating them super well upstairs. No. No.
And it's wild because his velocity was up when he was first coming off the IL. And so I was like, oh, well, he's healthy now from the hip injury. And so now we're seeing the velo up. And then it was like immediately back down.
Yeah, I think it went from like 90 and change to 89 and change to 88.8. And then it came back to 89.4. Like, okay, buddy. No thanks.
Yes, it's brutal. Let's see. The Mets, speaking of brutal, the Mets rotation is exciting, unproven. We just talked about Noah McLean starting tonight. You can't bench him given how well he's pitched. And we just talked about the Phillies issues. And then he gets Texas. We just talked about all the Texas injuries. And then he gets Washington and Miami. So the Noah McLean schedule is actually shaping up to be a lot better than we thought it was going to be, like maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think what's going on.
Also, same thing. Like Texas was a matchup where you're like, I don't know. And now it's like, yeah, fire him up. Texas, Washington, Miami. Brandon Sprout, also Texas, Washington, Miami. What did you think of Sprout's MLB debut?
So, by the way, I do want to mention quickly, I think the Mets are doing something really interesting where they've taken the 3 quote-unquote veterans of Manaea, Holmes, and Peterson and said, look, we're going to give you guys the tough schedule. So that's at Philly, Padres, and Cubs. And they're just going to push it to those guys and then ease in their young starters, the three-headed dragon of youth. That is McLean and Tong and Sprout for the easy matchups to make sure they feel good entering the playoffs. And I kind of love that. If that actually was intentional, I'm a huge fan of it. And Sprout is kind of like McLean in that he has a sweeper that is very lively. Also a 2-plane curveball that I think can become more of a thing over time, especially against lefties. However, because he's cross-body a bit, like he starts on the first base side and then steps toward third base on delivery, it does add some question to overall command. It might also be the debut affecting that. That's fine. But we've also seen Sprout in the minors be a little volatile start to start, and I think this is part of the reason why. Also, four-seamer is dead zone, and the sinker has fine horizontal movement. And there were times he was throwing 96, 97 inside to right-handers that worked. But I do worry, A, that the velocity is going to come down a little bit because that was the debut boost. So probably more like 95 to 96. And also, I don't know how consistent his command of that is. There's also a changeup and a cutter. The cutter wasn't really used much. They're calling it a slider at 90 miles per hour. It's a cutter to me. And the changeup could be more of a threat against lefties as well. Really just don't want him to throw the four-seamer as much as possible against those lefties. So I'm not absurdly into Brandon Sprout because I feel like it's more about the sweeper than anything else. And the velocity is certainly helping things. It's not like it's a terrible fastball and a terrible sinker, but it's just not one that I see as a foundation. I feel like Noah McLean's is better than Sprout's. But this matchup against the Texas Rangers is so good, and the Nationals and the Marlins, like you can't say no to that. Yeah. So I'm going with this for Brandon Sprout, but I'm not really super excited for next year.
Yeah, I have him firmly as like the third of that group.
Yes,
Tong, McLean, and Sprout. And I think ideally for the Mets, like he doesn't even have to be a full-time starter at the start of 2026. If he's the third of that group, you'd like to have some solid veterans above him as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Speaking of young arms, we got a few in the Yankees. The way I look at the Yankees right now, and you can tell me if you agree, Rodon and Max Fried are guys you just auto start because they're good pitchers and it doesn't really matter the matchups. I am not starting Will Warren right now, at least in the immediate, maybe for Baltimore and the White Sox to end the season, but he's taken a step back and I don't love the matchups. And so the real questions for me are Cam Schlittler and Luis Heel. I weirdly think I lean more towards Schlittler than I.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Schlittler's phenomenal. And even his last start where he got banged up, it was a ton of foul balls. He got singled out. That game, if you watch it, it is frustrating. He deserves so much better in that one. Luis Heel is someone who's still figuring things out. Even though he had 60% strikes on all 3 of his main pitches in the last start, he still had a ton of walks. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where he can't depend on getting that strike when he needs it. So that's something that should improve over time. I don't want to start him against the Red Sox in Fenway, but maybe against Minnesota and then by the White Sox in Baltimore at the end of the year, which I think he'd make that last start because they want to see where he's at for the playoffs at that point, and he hasn't had a ton of volume this year. I think that Luis Seal could be good by the end. Meanwhile, Will Warren, as you said, yeah, I think he is fatigued at this point. Ian Osiris mentioned that his stuff was way down the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks. When looking at it. So it could be very rough in the short term. And even as you mentioned, at Baltimore and Chicago White Sox, that could not be good for him. But Cam, I mean, I'm starting him against Detroit. I'm starting him against the Twins. And both starts against the Orioles, I would do it. He might not get that last one because his innings are climbing up a little bit. And there might be such a decided moment for the Yankees. They're like, you know what? No, we are going to save you for the playoffs now. You are our number 3. So we are not going to push you right now. We're going to give you some extra rest.
Yeah. Oh man. I was riding that Will Warren hot streak for a while earlier in the season.
I know, it was so fun. It was so fun.
Philly's schedule has a lot of red. And interestingly, like, I guess, you know, Christopher Sanchez is an ace, and so you just have to throw him in there, even though it might feel weird to say that. Ranger Suarez also pitching well enough that you probably just have to use him, despite the fact that it's Mets and Dodgers. And then Nola, I don't know about Nola. Like, I know it was one bad inning the last time, but like, this is a rough 2 start against the Mets and Royals. You have Walker Buehler on here, and I know RotoWire does. He, you know, I don't know that he's getting called up. Like, they haven't announced a plan yet. He gave up a home run on his first pitch in AAA, so we'll see how that goes.
Is that right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I don't know. How are you approaching the fringes of the Phillies?
Honestly, it depends. If you have Aaron Nola, you see if you have other options, but it might be a case if you just bench this and then you can see if you want to hold on to it for Sunday, right? With Jesus Luzardo, I just wouldn't try it. I think it's just too risky, but you obviously want to start against the Marlins. And Ranger Suarez and Christopher Sanchez, at this point, you're just going, all right, well, let's just roll with this, even though it's the Mets and the Dodgers. Do not touch Taijuan Walker. That's simple.
Never Taijuan Walker for
no.
I do think you should touch, but we're going to rephrase that. But I do think that you should go grab. That's also not that much better.
What are you doing? Acquire, pick up. I think that I'm still interested in Bubba Chandler. 100%.
I understand the last start was terrible.
Yes.
But he's too talented. It's a start against the Nationals. It's a start against the Athletics at home in Pittsburgh, and then it's the Reds, and I'm okay with all of those. And so I am happy to have Bubba Chandler.
A lot of guys are getting singled out right now, and that one for Bubba Chandler was, I will say, it's because they were hunting his fastball with both his slider and his changeup, unable to earn strikes. So they were just looking for the heater. They got it, and even though he spotted those fastballs really well, they were still able to do enough with it, albeit Babbitt was not on his side that day. Some flares in there, some ground balls that could have been grabbed by infielders, just missed them for whatever reason. This is a really good schedule for Bubba Chandler. I'm pretty much in there. I do wonder if Braxton Ashcraft will be in there with Mike Burrows a little bit. We did see that before, of Mike Burrows being piggybacked before. I don't know. I don't really want to touch any of that. Johan Oviedo is so interesting. The command is really the question, but he has 99th percentile extension and flatness on his four-seamer. It's kind of like Mizorowski, but just 5 miles per hour slower, but that's still good. And of course, Skeens we're rolling with, and Mitch Keller's throwing more sweepers, and that might be good, except that it's at Nationals next, and that's a lefty lineup. Right. So I'm not that interested, and I don't really want to go for Mitch Keller anyway, so it's not really for me.
It's not for him, guys. It's not for him. I like the Oviedo start against Baltimore. I would do that. I
hope so. I hope it's good. He has skills. It's just consistency at this point.
I like the Yu Darvish schedule. Cincinnati at home, Colorado at home, White Sox on the road. I'm happy to use Yu Darvish for all of those. We're going to get Michael King off, and he's going to get the Reds at home, Colorado at home, the White Sox, Arizona. Thank you, Michael King, my most rostered starting pitcher. It has been he was my ace. So many places. It's been a rough season, but at least we can close strong. And then, Pivetta, I think you're starting everywhere. Randy Vasquez, I'm probably not starting anywhere. and Dylan Cease I'd start against the Rockies at home and maybe avoid the rest. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's Michael King though in the first start. We don't know how many pitches he's going to throw because he hasn't had a minor league start, and it feels like he's just been throwing on the backfields or whatever. And I don't know. I want to just start him regardless because I feel like it's going to be quality per inning, especially against the Reds carpet, and then also it's Rocky Road after. Like it's such a good schedule, but just keep that in mind for Michael King. And I'm just going to roll with Dylan Cease at the very least in the short term. I guess at the Mets, maybe you want to not. I don't know, guys. It depends on what you need. But don't touch Randy Vasquez. Even though it's Rocky Road, I still just don't like it. And then Nestor Cortez either when he does come back.
Yep. Yeah, if he comes back. I've had so many shares of Nestor Cortez because of that early season or that end of the season. We move to the Giants. Can you drop Logan Webb? Not pitching great. Arizona's a decent start. Dodgers, and then Cardinals we'd love for the end. But let's say Logan Webb pitches today, Monday, Arizona. Let's say it's a fine start, not a great start, right? Maybe just kind of like quality start. Are you dropping him ahead of the 2 starts against the Dodgers?
Depends if I need quality starts or not. I'm not going to expect those ratios to be great. And also I'll see if he has his cutter working well and all that kind of stuff. If he's doing the Logan Webb thing well, then I'm like, all right, fine. We're just going to do it. But yeah, it's really tough. It's, you gotta do you really. I mean, Robbie Ray, I will say too, is kind of a tough one, but at the same time, he is pitching better. And I think actually his last one was just like, come on, man, this is so unfortunate. But he is throwing harder now. He is locating much better. I feel actually okay with Robbie Ray right now against Arizona for 2. Carson Seymour throws hard, but I don't really want to do that. Justin Verlander, you don't start him against the Dodgers, and I don't think he's going to get that last start against the Rockies for Rocky Road because it's Justin Verlander and like too much mileage, honestly. And you would think that he'd be okay for Arizona and St. Louis. And Carson Whisenhunt, I just haven't seen it yet from him, so I'm not interested.
I haven't seen it from him at all this year. We have our fully healthy Mariners rotation. We've kind of talked about it. You're basically starting everybody.
Yep. Even Castillo. Castillo just had 10 whips on his 4-seamer, man. And like, okay, fine. Yeah. Actually, I think it was 12. Something ridiculous. Yeah, it's good enough schedule at this point. You're just going to keep rolling with it. Same with Bryce Miller. Maybe avoid the last 3 against the Dodgers, but you might not even see those guys pitch those games because why spoil them there,
And the only one, I mean, like George Kirby hasn't been pitching great, but it's the Cardinals and the Angels the next 2. Like I don't see any reason why you wouldn't.
Oh yeah, there's no way you're benching Kirby. No.
Right, and if he struggles in those starts, maybe you bench him in the finals against the Astros if you get there, but you cross that bridge down.
I'm going to do an executive order right now and say, look, guys, Cardinals, Liberatore don't really care. He's fatigued. Don't really want it at Seattle and Cincinnati. Michael McGreevy is a desperate stream for a quality start. Sonny Gray, I know it's been weird with him, but I feel like Sonny Gray just does this, and you are going to do it anyway. He's a cherry bomb, and you just got to go through, even though it's Milwaukee twice. And the Giants and Michaelis says, whatever, but don't do that. Andre Palante, don't do that. Tampa Bay Rays, do you like Adrian Hauser and Ryan Pepiot? Any of these guys that you're really circling outside of the Chicago White Sox start for the next 3 games and then hosting the Red Sox and going into Camden? Because they get the Cubs, they get the Jays twice.
No, I like Ian Seymour. I'll continue to use him against the White Sox, and that's kind of it for me. I wouldn't use him against Boston because, again, the lefty thing. And so, yeah.
So one start for Seymour. Boz is throwing harder, but why does he have to get this? Why does he have to get these starts right now at Chicago? It is away from Tampa Bay, so maybe it's interesting. Drew Rasmussen, I feel like you can just kind of start, and who cares? It might be 5 innings. It's been 5 the last 2, but before that was 4 straight of 6. And I think I would just still roll with it because his stuff is that good. Ryan Pepiot was away, thankfully, from Tampa Bay, so I should be going at Chicago White Sox. But I don't know if I really want to be tempted after that for the tough matchups. And Adrian Hauser also quality start play in Chicago against the White Sox. But that's Tampa Bay. We're running out of time. We got the Rangers here. Tell me about the Rangers, Eric.
Jacob Latz. Well, first of all, DeGrom, you're starting. And Merrill Kelly, you're starting because they've just pitched well. Yeah. And even though the matchups aren't great, I think you're doing that. Jack Leiter, I don't know, man. I mean,
Jack Zippo's been better at least recently. He's been Jack Zippo.
He has, but it's Milwaukee and then Houston.
Yeah,
I don't love that. And
I'm with you. I'm saving him until Miami and the Guardians. Yeah.
I'm certainly not starting Patrick Corbin against the Mets, maybe against the Marlins and Twins to end it. But again, he can be on the waiver wire until then. Jacob Latz, I think it's kind of the same thing. Like in a deeper format, sure, I think he's a solid enough pitcher, but I'd prefer not to start him until his final 2 starts against the Marlins and the Guardians.
Okay, I agree with that completely. I think actually Jacob Latz against the Marlins is one to circle. Same with the Guardians, actually, because he's a lefty with like 94, 95 on the fastball and a really good changeup, and I think he'll be fully stretched out by then. I will say your deeper formats, look at the Miami Marlins start for Patrick Corbin. Why? Because Patrick Corbin in his last game just had a successful outing against the Astros where he went 10% fastballs. And he has a changeup that's much better than we've normally seen. He's been developing a lot in the second half. So he went cutters, sliders, and changeups and did well for 5.2 innings. It's possible. See if he's doing that same approach against the Mets, especially against right-handers. And then if that's still present with a changeup there, that might actually work against the Marlins. That's all I'm going to say on that. But Jack Leiter, yeah, you don't buy into it, guys. Blue Jays, it's the great undulator, Jose Barrios, whatever. Shane Bieber, I'm just starting the rest of the way. I don't care about that one inning against the Reds. Kevin Gausman is a hipster, and whatever you want to do. Chris Bassett, I know he's had some success lately. I still feel like he's just a streamer for your quality start leagues. I feel like his stuff just is not nearly as good and as you want it to be, and he still has that really low floor. And Scherzer just threw 94, 95. 93, 94 against the Yankees. He gets 3 good matchups, hosting Baltimore, at Tampa Bay, and then hosting the Red Sox. Do you disagree with any of that?
No.
All right. Last
Move
one
on to the Nationals.
is out.
Moving on to the Nationals, the last team on here. Cade Cavalli starting tonight against the Marlins, and then Pittsburgh, and then I think we probably move on.
Yep.
But we're still doing it. Mitchell Parker, I think you could also make the same argument that if you're desperate or I prefer Cade Cavalli, but you know, Parker against the Marlins, against the Pirates, I could see it. Jake Irvin and Brad Lord, if you're desperate against the Marlins this week, but that's
never it. Jake Irvin, absolutely not. If you watch Mr. Robot, you know Irving goes all the time. That's how I feel every single time Irving pitches. Okay, don't do it. Brad Lord just had a really weird and good game. I still don't want to do that against the Marlins. Mackenzie Gore might be coming back before the end of the year, but like it'll probably be on a pitch count, and you just don't know where you're going to get. And it's against Atlanta both times, and I feel like it's just not worth it. Andrew Alvarez just survived-ish the Cubs with from the left side at like 90 miles per hour with 2 breaking balls down into right-handers. It's possible that works against the Pirates, but I don't really want to do that. And Mitchell Parker, the last couple have been 4-seamers up and curveballs down. He's trying it, and maybe it's working. The splitter even returned. Maybe finally, but I don't want my season to be banking on Mitchell Parker 2-step at Miami and against the Pirates.
Yes. That's it for the Nationals. That's it for this week. Woo! We tried to get it under an hour for you, but we just like to talk. But maybe next time, with one fewer round of starts, we'll get it in under an hour. So we'll make that our goal for next week. I am Eric Samulski, Pelican.
I'm Nick Pollack, the Lion.
And I'm absolutely not going to go do anything that has to do with that other sport right now.